Kena Bridge of Spirits is not only a super polished indie darling, but the game's actually better now than it was at launch, and it's finally coming to Xbox. So let's see why now's the time to dive in for the first time, or to get lost in this world all over again. Astoundingly, Kena Bridge of Spirits is the first game developed and published by Ember Lab. Founded in 2009 by brothers Mike and Josh Greer, Ember Lab focused on animation and digital content, like commercials and animated shorts. They were behind the viral short film based on Majora's Mask in 2016, and if you haven't seen it, you definitely should. I put a link to it in the description. So after that, Mike and Josh looked at each other and asked, why not make our own game?
You son of a bitch.
And so they did, originally releasing in 2021 for PC and PlayStation. However, the console exclusivity ended in 2024 for Xbox with a release in August. But not on Switch? This is totally a Nintendo style? Oh, right. Well, the Switch already has lots of amazing adventures and Xbox doesn't. So let's see what it's like to play Kena Bridge of Spirits now. Right off the bat, the team's animation expertise shows. I knew this was a good looking game after seeing the trailers, but holy cow, this is beautiful. A big, vibrant world bursting with life, full of whimsical characters and little magical touches around every corner. But it's not just the visuals, the gameplay feels thoroughly satisfying with a mix of hack and slash combat, platforming, and puzzle solving. Sort of like a mix of a 3D platformer collectathon, The Legend of Zelda, and even Pikmin. And that's coupled with a wonderful story. You play as Kena, a spirit guide who helps the recently deceased cross over from the physical world to the spirit world, almost like a Bridge of Spirits? Thank you. So when someone has unfinished business or residual trauma when they die, they get trapped, unable to make the journey, and that's where you come in. But you can't simply show them the way. No, you have to uncover the source of the trauma and eradicate it, which means following clues, solving puzzles, and fighting the very spirit themselves, who've been corrupted by their trauma. The writing is fantastic, breathing life into this world, feeling culturally authentic and charming, without being afraid to go to really dark places at times. And with so much depth brought to each character and situation, I wish Kena herself got a bit more development. I craved to learn more about her background and motivations, and while there were some curious hints, they never go much beyond that. Though I'd say it's probably a good thing that I wanted more, and who knows, maybe we'll get that in a future sequel. A theme woven throughout is one of duality and balance. The characters are both good and evil, living and dead, broken and whole. As a spirit guide, Kena seeks to restore balance. It's subtle yet elegantly woven throughout. This theme isn't just in the story, duality is also central to the gameplay. You'll travel across the open world filled with forests, mountains, and villages, hunting for collectibles, uncovering secrets, and fighting enemies as you help the trapped spirits to cross over. While you can fast travel all over the world and freely explore areas after opening them up, the game's structure feels much more akin to an old 3D platformer, versus a more modern, say, Ubisoft style of open world. You have a mostly linear path through the story, and the only reason to revisit areas is to find all of the optional collectibles. And the game's fairly completionist friendly, showing what you've missed for each area of the map. The controls feel incredibly snappy and satisfying. Knowing this studio's background, I expected a good looking game, and damn, I wasn't disappointed. But I wasn't expecting the game to play this well. Though you really need to choose performance mode over fidelity mode in the graphics options. Seriously. Now I'm sure most of you would naturally have picked the 60 frames a second option since this is a fast action game. but I could see some choosing to prioritize visuals since it's so high quality to begin with. But man, it's a wild contrast dropping to 30. That normally wouldn't bother me much, but it really felt like a slideshow here. And since performance mode still looks absolutely incredible, this is a no-brainer. I got Beyond Good and Evil vibes with Kenna whacking the crap out of enemies with her staff, using light and heavy attacks alongside that dodge. Everything starts out simple enough, with just a few items and weapons at your disposal. But just like the story, there's a dual purpose for just about everything, both inside and outside of combat. Your staff transforms into a bow that you can use to hit out-of-reach enemies, target specific weak points, or for puzzles requiring you hit targets within a time limit, and even traversal using these flowers to pull you across large gaps. Now your shield uses spirit power to temporarily block enemy attacks. Use it too much and you'll have to wait for a cooldown to use it again. But the shield also sends out a pulse for powering up contraptions and solving yet more puzzles. You'll also get a bomb that you can use in combat, and yeah, you guessed it, also for solving puzzles, and even platforming. They'll act as a sticky grenade, globbing onto enemies and blowing up after a few seconds. But if you can shoot it before it blows up, it'll increase the damage. Now, if you use the bombs on these blue rocks, they'll temporarily float, opening up new pathways or becoming platforms that you can use to reach out-of-the-way places. I loved how flexible the toolset is. The multiple uses for everything allows for depth and your creativity while remaining simple and streamlined. The combat is a lot of fun and really satisfying for the most part, though the challenge is all over the place. There are long stretches that feel easy, almost too easy, especially early on, and then you hit a wall. Some of the bosses were such a massive, unexpected spike, where you die over and over only to finally eke out a win. For a game seemingly targeted at a younger audience, sheesh. Thankfully, loading times are almost non-existent, so it's not overly frustrating even if you die a handful of times. I suspect many will find themselves bumping the difficulty up and down to dial things in just right. Though when you hit your groove, using all the tools at your disposal, taking on the tough but fair challenge, it feels great. Now, you're never alone in this adventure. You'll collect these small spirit companions known as the Rot, who follow you around, help you to complete tasks, and even help you in fights. Puppies and kittens got nothing on the Rot for sheer cuteness. They act very much like the sacred spirit from Balinese culture for blessings and protection, called Sesuhanan. You can direct the Rot to do things like move objects, change shapes, or distract enemies. To join battles and attack enemies, the Rot needs courage. You'll build up courage as you fight, letting you use it to bug the hell out of the baddies with the Rot. And the more Rot you find, the more powerful they become. Kenna also gets more powerful throughout the adventure with some light RPG elements. As you purify flower shrines, defeat enemies, fix fallen statues, and feed the Rot, you'll earn karma that you can use to upgrade Kenna's abilities. Mostly focused on new combat techniques like sprinting lights and heavy attacks, an air slam, or a rod hammer. Nice. Also scattered all over the map are charm stones that you can equip for passive bonuses like increased weapon damage. Even though this system is fairly simple, I appreciated feeling that gradual progression, and it's another reason to get out there and explore. Not that you'll need to be convinced. The map's not overly big, littered with millions of icons or checklists to complete, but it's beautiful, full of things to see and do, and just a pure joy to get around. Sliding down slippery slopes, swimming in rivers, double jumping to get just a bit higher, and searching for climbable ledges with that familiar splash of paint. You'll search around every corner, and not just for more of your little companions. You'll find outfits for Kenna, hats for the Rot, making them even more cuter if that's possible, gems for purchasing more hats, spirit mail that usually reveals some treasure, and meditation spots for a permanent boost to Kenna's health. At certain points, the rot can temporarily combine into a larger creature that can clear a blocked path. And you'll use the rot to help solve the puzzles dotted throughout, usually having them carry items such as platforms or energy crystals to the right place. There's no denying just how beautiful this game is. Soak it in. This studio's animation pedigree shines through in every breathtaking frame. Indie games aren't supposed to look this good. Now, the art direction is a bit safe, going for that Pixar aesthetic, but it's hard to argue how well it works here. While not directly based on any real places, the world is inspired by Japan and Bali, with the cultural influences shining through. As beautiful as the world looks, it's brought to life with the characters. The characters were hand animated using keyframes to add more detailed personality. The team wanted you to connect with the rot, and so they gave them a lot of personality with these little touches that make them really charming to have around. Kenna herself is young yet experienced, and you never have to question what's on her mind with the sea of expressions on her face, thanks to an expression library that the team cooked up to allow for a wide range of emotions. Diwa Ayu Dewi Lesaranti, who voices Kenna, originally became involved in the project through her parents, who founded the Balinese ensemble group Gamelan Kudamani. They collaborated with Jason Galati on the score, giving a unique texture and cultural feeling to each scene.
With focus, you can gather that energy.
I do want to mention the game's good use of the PS5 DualSense controller's haptic feedback, with things like the tension you feel when you pull back on your spirit bow, or the subtle heartbeat when near a hidden rot. It's all these little details that make this such a rich and rewarding experience. After the initial launch, the game has received a bunch of updates, making this a far different experience than at launch. I won't cover everything, but here are a few of the bigger items. For starters, you no longer need to finish the game to unlock the Master difficulty, although I still wouldn't recommend starting out that hard. A New Game Plus mode was also added, which I always appreciate, letting you take your upgrades into a second playthrough. This also includes new charm stones that are only available in New Game Plus. A new game mode called Spirit Guide Trials have also been added to give you rewards like new costumes for Kenna. And there are also a lot more rot hats hidden throughout the world, making it easier to collect the 50 you'll need for the trophy. And that takes us to the completion process. Beelining the story will take 8 to 10 hours, but plan for about 25 hours to do everything. That includes finding all the collectibles, maxing out Kenna's abilities, doing a lot of combat, and finishing the game on the Master difficulty, which I recommend you save for New Game Plus. Now, for you Xbox players, your version comes with all of the post-launch updates as well as exclusive pirate-themed rot hats, so pretty cool. And there will be a physical version of the game available for Xbox Series X. Okay, what's it like to play Kenna Bridge of Spirits? Well, it's an amazing debut for Ember Lab, and another great example of AA games doing things right. The presentation is phenomenal from beginning to end, backed up with great gameplay and a beautiful, well-told story. While I wish the difficulty was more balanced and the completion process can be especially punishing, this is a treasure worth collecting.